It is 5 o'clock. Woohoo! I'm calling the board meeting to order. I need a motion to approve the agenda for the board workshop meeting.
So moved.
Mary Caitlin,
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we're all here, so 7-0. So we have some exciting workshop topics today. And first up,
Code of conduct.
Code of conduct.
Yeah, it is actually kind of exciting because after all these years, I'm really impressed I'm really grateful and impressed with our process. We try to get many people involved in reviewing our code of conduct, which needs to occur yearly along with our district-wide safety plan. Deb Miles is going to come forward and spend a few moments talking about some of the modifications that were made this past year for the 25-26 school year. And after she's done with this, we'll be on a 30-day public comment period. We'll be noticing that, say, April 23rd to May 23rd. Next board meeting, we'll have open hearing on code of conduct to see if anyone has any more thoughts and feedback. And then as we move through the process on June 18th, I'll be making recommendations for Board of Education to approve for the 25-26 school year. And it's an intentional effort, and Deb Miles is here to talk a little bit about that and some of these changes. So I'll be putting it up on the screen up here. Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. So you have seen the document, I think, in advance. So not really a lot changing, but we always try to reflect on the school year and the different things that are happening in the buildings and whether or not we need to then edit the code of conduct appropriately as new things come forward, right, in our administrative world. So mostly, though, with the addition of the director of MTSS and really looking at our MTSS system, in terms of the code of conduct and looking through the interventions and so forth, we did some edits about the teaming. So just making sure that we're aligning the new teaming names accordingly. So just replacing our instructional support team with our early warning indicators team and our student support team with our student success team. And then, of course, they're operating a little bit differently in the buildings with different membership and different purposes. So that's, those are at least identified in the code of conduct appropriately from that perspective. And then there's been increased conversation and questions around the use of artificial intelligence or AI, access and so forth, especially with kids. New devices are coming out already equipped with this. So having conversations about where does that fit in the code of conduct. And in actuality, we didn't make a lot of changes regarding this because you'll see in your document that there's already some current language in there regarding academic dishonesty. And so we're just adding a little bit of additional information there, just identifying that misuse of AI obviously would be included in that. And then again, under the digital citizenship and acceptable technology use section, we had it nicely worded there already. So just one little typo edit there. And then again, in the glossary, under academic dishonesty, just making sure that it's included also in that definition as well. I think the big piece to be aware of with the AI piece is that Kevin Henchen is our director of staff development, and he is working with a committee with Nate Reuter, who's one of our TOSAs for technology, and a committee on really delving into the use of AI and how is it appropriate to use in the classroom. From that perspective, they're doing a lot of great work with that and coming up with kind of a leveled system that the teachers will then, depending on what assignment they're working on, a research project, they'll determine, can kids use level 1 and 2 AI? Can they use 4 levels of AI? Whatever they can use. So the big piece with this isn't so much the wording in the code of conduct as much as once we land on a final document for the teachers to use, we'll need to provide some professional development for our teachers, and then they'll need to teach this also to our students, much like we do any kind of research-based, citing resources and so forth. There's obviously legitimate ways to use AI, and making sure our kids understand that as they leave us and go on to college is super important. So that work is coming forward. That'll be in our work next year with our, it sounds like maybe our PL path and some of that work. So it's really just equipping teachers with the right software that we land on for AI, and then how do we teach this to kids and make sure that as part of their, rubrics that they already established in the grading procedures, they identify how much AI is allowed for each assignment. So looking forward to that coming forward. But all of that is kind of way too detailed for the code of conduct, so we just reference that, it's at teacher discretion. Lindsay's working nicely with me in terms of making the edits to the code of conduct, so we're going to do some updates also around the photos, and let's see, making sure we got some other just formatting edits in there, and then just the unknown, right? So this won't be in the code of conduct, it's there for your reference, but we may do a little placeholder subject to change depending on what comes forward from New York State Ed, is the whole cell phone policy piece. So right now, our policy written in the code of conduct is mostly how it's enacted in the school. Our principals have some discretion in terms of where they allow it in the middle schools. It's always a interesting topic across our teachers at all levels, 6 through 12, but there are policies in place and procedures in place in the buildings, and for a long time we've had the caddies, if you will, where they can put their phone in the caddy, and some teachers even award some participation points for that at the end of the quarter, semester, and so forth. So we keep encouraging, the process there. But if the governor comes forward with mandated, ban on cell phones, then we'll obviously need to just amend the code of conduct briefly to, align with that if we're in that situation. So, but that's big unknown, and so we'll see.
So Deb, and maybe this is a question for us to think into. So with the phones, and like something's going to be coming whenever the budget happens. That's what we're hearing, is that there's going to be something. So in terms of process, is this something that obviously we can't do anything until we know what the law is going to be? Is this something that we can add once the law is enacted? Do we have to wait a year to add it to the code of?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's more of a process. Can we,
Yeah.
once we get it, can we amend the code?
Right now we're sending this out for 30 days. We'll put a little disclaimer that this area will be subject to change pending New York State Ed, guidance. And then I would think if we needed to, after that, we could come back here. If it happened over the summer, one would think we could come back here and reopen for an addendum and then put it back out for 30 days and do what we have to do. That's not a huge issue to me if that's what we need to do to make sure we get it right. But yeah. Yeah. But, that takes the fun out of it, right? That's what we're used to.
That'll align nicely with our budget presentation.
Right, exactly.
No rush, Theta.
I was chatting with Brett earlier, though, because I find it comical that some states, they were interviewing on the news the other day, and they're just experimenting with the caddies and the lock boxes and all those things. And I'm like, okay, we've been talking about this forever, so whatever happens, happens. We'll figure it out. So that's pretty much it for the code of conduct. I had my team working on it through the wellness committee, and go from there. Any other questions or thoughts, considerations? All right, thank you so much.
30-day public comment period between April 23rd and May 23rd, and then we'll be getting a public notice out, and then on May 27th, again, there'll be a public hearing for comments to be shared, and June 18th, we'll be looking to make recommendations for final approval.
Excited about the new pictures.
So, sorry, Brett, for people to comment during this public comment session for both code of conduct and for safety and security, how can they?
So there'll be a public notice. And,
okay.
And we'll use our systems and networks to do that, and then they'll be able to submit to our board clerk and sign up accordingly. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, so I think up next we have a similar presentation.
Similar district-wide safety plan is up.
Yeah, I shouldn't say similar, I should say the parameters.
The
or
process.
the
We gotta
put it out for
process.
the
It's the same process.
Yes.
Yeah.
How's that better? Oh, wow. There was a tape. Oh, please, thanks. Tough crowd. My intention is I do every year just to provide some information for you regarding our district-wide safety plan. That is basically in a influx throughout the year, constantly taking our efforts to review it, make sure we're on par from where we want to be, and I'm prepared to just kind of give you some of the overview of some of our revisions and our changes. So, what's important to note is the premise for what we're doing here. As you can see, mitigation, prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery is pretty much the basics of the plan. However, I'd like to say we focus tremendously on the mitigation prevention part. So that kind of brings into play our Sentry program and a lot of what we do to prevent anything from happening. And if something does happen, which I'll get into, we just had one event that captured some news activity this year. And I think because of our plan and our readiness to address it, we were very successful on managing that effort. So in preparation for this plan, we do go through a annual review of different aspects of it that include our district-wide safety team, our emergency response team, our safety coordinators, which is Mrs. Miles and Mrs. Short, as well as all our sentries. We ask for some feedback throughout the year as well to test how we're doing. And as part of this process is the 30-day feedback period. So every year we do get some comments from the public, so I'm happy to entertain anything the public has to provide and assist us with this plan, because we want to make it all-encompassing plan from all different perspectives. So the plan itself, these are just some of our additions. We added Lightspeed AI networking application, which has been very good. We finally fine-tuned it a bit. When we first got this AI, it was in its raw stages, so we were getting a lot of alerts. And I think, and Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, we've pretty much got it down to a science where we're getting some true alerts. And we've been very successful, to be quite honest with you, with some recent events where some of our kiddos have been struggling with suicide ideology, and it's been manifested in some of their work that we've been instantly notified, and we've been able to intervene fairly quickly with our services here at school, or if it's outside of school, with services from the law enforcement and the mental health community. So I think it's been working out very well for us, and I'll kind of get into some of the statistics in a minute.
Is that the system that is on the computer? So if they're searching for something, that's
Correct. We get real-time alerts, so it constantly monitors our network.
okay.
Anytime there's anything that indicative of violence, suicidality, or bullying, or those types of features that are looked at from the AI perspective, and it looks at it not just, we used to look at it single words. We see gun, and then we have to go in and do the research physically and see what the gun is, what the context of that was used. Right now, the AI does that all for us. And it's capturing stuff like, kill myself is just KM, some of the initials that come out and some of the things that it looks at specifically to see that there's a suicide nexus, and they let us know very, very quickly. And then from there, we do our response. So I think it's been working out very well for us. We have a number of recent events that we've been very successful in capturing quickly. So 11 o'clock, 11:30 p.m., so spring break. Somebody may have been in Aruba with our last one, and I was in Toronto, so it was kind of interesting managing that from there, but we did. Yes. So It's really, it's high-speed stuff, and it's looking at information at a much faster rate than we were able to do it physically, so great program. 911, we just recently put a notification system, so if anyone dials from a 911 from a school phone, we get the alert, so we know if something's happening, and we usually, through our operations center, will send the sentry to that location where the 911 call originated, make sure everything's all right. So that's been working out. There's been a little bit of some work getting through that, but I think we're in a good place now with it. And then recently we added the security desk, thanks to Aaron Smith and crew there, to the back of the high school, which was one of my pet peeves for vulnerability in that school. So that's helped out quite a bit. Now we do scan in, scan out for people that come into our school through the rear entrance. Next, we've done some Guardian training this year, CPR, AED, and Narcan training. So all our folks are certified in that regard that are full-time, as well as some of our folks that are constantly being involved in sports and athletic supervision. So that's come into play. Our mental health assessments now are being captured through our CLPS software. So we have twice as many mental health interventions than we do threat assessments, but they are all now captured in one place, and Mrs. Miles takes care of that as far as managing and monitoring that, make sure that we have follow-up being performed on that from a mental health standpoint. Also to the plan, we've added student demonstrations. If we have an electrical failure, which was timely because as soon as I put this in the plan, we had an electrical failure. So I worked with Aaron Smith on that. And then we did add some language about temperature protocols that the state mandated. So we don't have a lot of guidance when it comes to that. So we kind of did something as just to have something in place that we would do. So as guidance comes out from the state, we can certainly add more substance to that policy. So those are the major revisions that are done to the plan. So with that, really our focus is on school safety and the security, everyone's responsibility, making it not just a security responsibility, but everybody plays a role in our security plan. And a lot of what we do is kind of a preventative means to making sure that if something is brought to our attention, we immediately address it. So we're big into the see something, say something, and do something type of premise. So with this, our big event this year, as you all know, was we had a student, which I will not name because of privacy issues, that provided information on social media within a small group of 6 or 8 people to begin with, and said that basically they were going to shoot up the school. How this played out and how this worked well, to talk about our Sentry program, is information was quickly from that first initial group brought to a Sentry's attention, and that's what prompted everything to move in motion at the same time that it was starting to leak out into the public, and then we were starting to get the calls through 911 and parents obviously concerned about sending their kids to school. Just a side note on that, I got a lot of phone calls that day about parents saying, I'm not comfortable sending my kids to school because it's not safe. And my response to every parent I talk to, this is the safest place in Monroe County. I would definitely send your kids to school, and I would outline that we have lots of Sentry support and we had police support as well. So the concern was not valid from that perspective. As a parent, I understand why, but it truly was a safe place that day. Yes.
So while we have Lightspeed and while we're doing all of these other things to monitor kids' online activity, and we do get the calls through Safe Schools Helpline, and we also get the notifications in other ways, it's super important for parents to also be monitoring kids' activity online. So for anyone that's listening, the partnership is real. They spend a lot more time on the phone really at home than they do with us, and a lot of the things that we are kind of diving into are things that happen outside the school day through the social media platforms, and then we're kind of managing it the next day or that evening. So all the support is certainly appreciated in that regard.
Just some numbers to kind of suggest what's going on. And oftentimes I hear, well, what do Sentries do? And, you know, how are we managing the school environment? So far this school year, we had 376 events that require some type of intervention from our Sentry folks. and also were reported and captured through our operations center. We also processed 60 threat assessments to date and 95 suicide self-harm assessments. And then on top of that, when we talk about the light speed, there's 187 cases that have been reviewed and that we've provided some type of intervention and action to. So we've been pretty busy if you look at the statistics, but it should paint a picture of the prevention aspect of things and not, wow, this is what's going on in the district, is that we're attentive to what's happening and we're quickly doing some intervention so we can prevent anything further from happening. One of the initiatives this year, too, we put a lot of emphasis and resources into lunchroom management for the middle schools and for the ninth grade school, using sentries to help with managing that. And I think Martha Brown is a totally different look this year because of the efforts and emphasis. Not only that, JP is the same way, and Minerva DeLand is not like it used to be as far as, some of the issues that have come out, behavioral issues in the lunchroom. A lot more attention has been being driven to making mentoring, making friends in the lunchroom, and then also offering the expectation of behavior within the lunchroom setting. So I think we've come a long way with that, and I'm pretty proud of that program. And I think there's been a major cultural change in our lunchroom as we move forward on that. So. Some of the things too with our skill building, mandatory for our sentries is training. We've done the CPR training, the TBM training, mental health awareness training, and also threat assessment training. So this is all standard and required for all our sentries. And a lot of it also dovetails into de-escalation and how to manage kids in crisis, emotionally or behaviorally. And lastly, I asked Scott Knapp, who is one of our facilitators, like Dave Bast in the room here, and he pretty much has a lot of work and management here at the high school. But, I asked him, I said, can you just provide some information about some of the success stories? One of the things he did talk about was, last year this time we had 16 fights, if you will, quote unquote, in the high school environment. This year we've had 3, and they've lasted probably 3-4 seconds. And the reason why I say that is our sentries are keenly aware of what's going on in that environment to a point where they know when things are getting to a point where that may happen, and they quickly intervene. So that should be pretty telling about the success of the Sentry program and what they're doing, not only at the high school, but to each and every school. So I'll leave you with this quote: building relationships, good communication, and awareness are key, which I think our team does a phenomenal job of. And just kudos to the Sentries and everything that they do day in and day out. Also, thanks to Deb Miles for our partnership, because we work hand in hand when it comes to anything from a threat assessment, suicide assessment, or just anything that we need to address, not only in school but also out of school. And it doesn't even involve students. We also involve some parents and some people that come on our property that may be former students and are suffering from sometimes some mental health issues. So with that, that's the plan in a nutshell, and happy to answer any questions regarding what we're doing here as far as safety and security in the district. Yes.
Sam, are you able to take us through, obviously not too many details, but what would happen when you get a call about either a threat assessment or, a fear of self-harm or suicide? What is some of the follow-up practices that happens?
So it depends on how we receive that information, but ideally, no matter if it's in school, it's going to be much different than if it's out of school. But as soon as we receive the information, whether it's through Lightspeed or whether it's through an anonymous complaint from our Safe Schools line, myself and Deb are immediately notified. We typically team up and come up with a quick game plan, involve the building principal that's where that student resides, and then we come up with a quick game plan, whether in school, bringing them into the office immediately, doing an immediate evaluation and assessment, or if it's outside of school, we determine if we need to call the parents or get law enforcement or mental health involved. And so, but that all happens, we don't wait at all. So it happens real time, and as quick as we can attend to it, we try to manage it so that it doesn't unnecessarily get too far as our efforts to intervene.
Thank you.
There's also a weekly BIT meeting,
So our bid process is still,
behavior intervention team, I apologize.
it's our effort to get together and talk about not only threat assessment, but we may be talking about other things that may be impacting safety and security in the district. And that principals, system principals, and law enforcement, mental health is involved in that discussion, and we talk about either threat assessment situations, mental health related situations, and how we can best address those from a resource standpoint, not only in-house, but also in the community. So that's an ongoing, and that's chaired by Deb Miles on a weekly basis. And Monroe County Sheriff's Office will sit on that meeting.
I know when we had our legislative breakfast this year in February, I was sitting at Senator Brooks' table, and she's very passionate about mental health. And this was something that came up, saying how we have the most amazing team, but is it sustainable that you're on vacation and you're getting that call? And I know you would, and I know you would, and I thank you tremendously from our community. But to have that weight of our community be put on schools 24/7 is something I don't know that our legislators realize.
That's correct, and I think people want to say, well, how have schools changed?
That's a huge one.
30 years into this, this was not the case. 20 years, 10 years ago, but since the past several years, since COVID, it has been exponentially greater, the demands, the technology, being responsive to it, and then having the staff to manage it. And they're called, they're wonderful servants. I mean, you could tell that that's in their heart.
Well, and I can certainly say that I appreciate the counseling department sending out emails to parents, even just in this recent spring break, sending resources home in an email saying, well, you may not be in school, here's a list of resources that you can contact while you're out of school. So we have a great counseling team too.
Yeah. Actually recently implemented that on the heels of like one of our other breaks where we had a student try to reach out to a staff member directly to problem solve some suicidation. And so with that being said, we really need to be pushing these phone numbers and resources out to kids so they're not trying to pull out of school in after hours or on long breaks to intervene. So that was kind of one of our messaging things. So that's when students are alone. So that's kind of a thread that goes out with all of our emails as we close school down for a week. Crisis lines, all of the resources in the community and county. So in the end, though, it's free. I mean, it is what it is. We put the systems in place and they're working. Our parents and our kids are calling Safe Schools Helpline and they're letting us know. And for us, it's not a lot of time. It's just making the right contacts. And outside of school, generally, we're calling the parent directly and making sure the parent is in line of sight with their child and making sure that the right things are happening. They get resources connected. And if that's not the case, then we're working with 911. During the day, I have no concerns. We have an incredible mental health department, incredible staff. They're managing it before we even know it. I'm getting it on the back end. Triage that. The challenge is the community agencies outside. There's some cases where we get like really significant needs and we can't necessarily get the traction we want outside schools to support. So we're having to be super creative.
I mean, just a really quick credit, I hate to say this, but credit to your team and to the district that the student out of school needed a trusted voice and felt comfortable trying to reach out to a teacher, staff member. You don't want them to have that burden, but having that relationship is just, it's indicative of the work you all are doing for our students. So appreciate that.
I understand your concern, and Deb and I talked about that. Does it always have to be us? But I think Deb and I have that unique skill set that, we can triage things fairly quickly now. But there is a hierarchy. So if they can't get a hold of Deb or myself, then there are some folks that it will default to. So it doesn't get lost. But we felt the need to keep it consistent so that we know that it's going to get handled in the right fashion. But down the road, we should do the, the succession planning
gonna
piece
say
to it.
succession
Yeah.
planning.
Well, that, and, when they're talking about, well, why do you need funding and stuff like that? It's, well, we need great people to be able to do that. And, we're lucky in this district that we can value this and put that in place, but, is everybody able to do that and have that service for their kids? So just thank you, both of you.
Lisa, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, so again, echoing thanks for all that you do and that important work. And from the school board perspective, like MC was, or Dr. White was saying, that our role is sort of the funding side. So the Lightspeed program, what does that look like? Is that something that we paid for once? Is that a subscription service? What is the resource demand for
So
that program?
that is a subscription service that's handled through IT or IS with Tom. He's the one that's kind of spearheaded that. Very new technology. We're one of the first school districts to have it.
I was gonna say that too.
And I'm sure there's a reoccurring cost, but I don't think it's as expensive. I think it was a $15,000 expenditure.
But it's corresponding aid. It's not the full 15.
Yes, it goes through BOCES, and there's some,
70%.
Okay, thanks.
so that's more of a Jeremy question as far as the money involved, but
He's like,
I-
this is my wheelhouse.
I'm the end user, and I tell you, at first we were skeptical because we were getting alerts for everything. Like a teacher would give an assignment that had some nexus to, like, Romeo and Juliet, and they're
Yeah.
talking about suicide because that
Yeah.
situation. So we were getting hits on that, but now it's gotten to a point now. The system is now, because of AI, it's recognized. Okay, that's a homework assignment, or it's not germane to anything other than an assignment or relating to schoolwork. But now we get the ones that are more specific after they're vetted, and they say, okay, this one looks serious because it has some indication of violence because the person may be harmful to somebody else, and then we get that hit, and then we respond to it.
Thanks.
So though it's done each year, the Code of Conduct, District-wide Safety Plan, again, you can see that there's lots of thought and process behind it, and it's actually works well because we are going to be presenting a budget, and these components are definitely embedded into the non-instructional pieces, the Lightspeed, and then the instructional side and Mrs. Miles' side. But the quick reference guide will be accessible. It's not the full district-wide safety plan. It's definitely a public viewing document, and it doesn't have the depth of what you would expect to see in a full safety plan when we do that for very intentional reasons.
I was gonna say for safety
And
reasons.
that will be on public comment for 30, the reference guide will be placed online, and then we'll have a 30-day public comment period between the same time period, between April 23rd and May 23rd, and we will make it clear in our announcement. If you are interested in speaking and having a comment, the protocols to do that, which would go through our district clerk, Sarah Driscoll. That will be at the May 27th board meeting, and on June 17th, I'll be making a recommendation to the board for an approval of our district-wide safety plan, and then we have to submit it by September.
I think I'd just like to leave you with this. I mean, we have an extremely great working relationship with the Sheriff's Office and Fairport Police. And it wouldn't, if I didn't mention this, I think I'd be remiss in doing this. But that recent case with the student that made that threat by social media, there was a lot that went into that investigation. It may seem like it was pretty clear cut and dry. However, there's a lot of forensics that had to take place, and a lot of push and pull with the sheriff's office and our means to try to identify who it is and make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I think we're very successful in doing that. And the student that is involved is getting services through the juvenile justice system. So all in all, it was a great working relationship, and I don't think it would have happened in a vacuum if we didn't have that type of relationship with the sheriff's office. So just to part you with that.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Yep, you're welcome.
Very much.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, our next topic is
MTSS,
MTSS.
curriculum update from Maddie Power, who oversees
Yeah.
Family Consumer Science in the business department. She'll be. It's all
But
live.
yeah,
It's
but
all
yes.
live. It's all MTSS, Maddie.
I
And
have
Oh,
Heather
sorry.
Scherner with me,
And
and I'll let
Heather
her
Scherner.
introduce herself, but go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry, just to situate this again for the board, this is part of our state of the curriculum. So we set up this year the 3-year curriculum review cycle. We heard from World Languages, we've heard from Spark, and very excited tonight to have business and facts.
Yeah, business and facts. So I'm Maddie Power. I think some of you know. I'm an assistant principal at the high school, but then I fulfill the role of director of business and then picked up director of facts. And honestly, it's given me a great deep dive into things that, you know, you get to dig deeper in outside of the supervisory role of, sure, thank you, you know, APPR and things like that. And so you want to.
Heather Scherner, I think I know most everyone. Everyone knows how horrible I am at speaking in front of a room full of adults, so I'm just going to be down here while Maddie's talking.
She was also featured in, was it last month or the month
Oh,
before, the video that Lindsay put together? It
Which
was really
Jeff
good.
has laughed at for weeks now. It's been great. Oh, seriously.
So I wanted to start with what our enrollment in the business department looks like. We have 819 kids taking a business course. Now that's duplicate, so we might have one student taking 3 elective courses. And so, but we have 492 in at least one business course, which is over a whole grade level if you were to think about it. But obviously 9 through 12, they can take business courses. And then the other great part of our program is work-based learning, where kids are getting employability skills through either a job shadow, internship, in partnership with the job that they hold outside of school. So we have a lot of students engaged in that. And then once every 4 days in a cycle, they work with Sandy Hudak, who's our work-based learning coordinator, personalize it to what their job needs are, but also the overall like resume building and cover letters and things like that. So I think that's really unique to our business program, and our kids are really lucky to have that. So speaking of that, we have 19 student interns across the different areas that you see listed up there. What I think is really cool is how many kids we have working in our district at other buildings, and how many kids we have at the high school that want to continue and build relationships with kids and work with kids. And then outside of that, 79 students are earning credit through their job. Whether that's, we have a bunch of student helpers in the building that make copies for our different departments, and the kids I talk to that do that love it. Like I've tried to talk to them during that time. I'm like, oh, this will be a good time. They're not in class. And they're like, but I have to make the copies. So they love it. And then all the other jobs listed there are places our kids are working throughout the community. And they're earning credit for that, which is so great. A big project that Stacy Miller and I are working on, because she has CTE for architecture and engineering and currently auto. We're required to do a reapproval process every 5 years, and it really does kind of take a year to go through that whole process. In short, we're relooking at curriculum. We are looking at our employability profile. Are the skills up to date to what's being required in the job market once our students leave us? Right now, what we're planning is an external review committee, which requires us to reach out to people in the industry and post-secondary representatives to review our program and give us feedback. So that's the step we're on, which is near the end. So that's been a huge, huge project this year. And right now we have 16 students on track to earn the CTE endorsement for business and marketing this June. And our goal is to only increase that number, especially with some of the suggestions we're making for the reapproval.
So can I ask a quick
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
Okay, so for the CTE, how many credits do they have to get?
Right now it's 5
Okay.
with, I know it's really small, but 1.5 of those credits come from required classes they have to take, which is business and personal law, careers and financial management, which a lot of our students take in 9th grade, and then marketing, hence the business and marketing CTE. And then they have a choice of 3.5 elective courses. We're actually recommending to meet what the state's minimum requirement is, which is 3.5, to increase opportunity and access, especially as we work towards the consolidation too. Our students are going to have lots of choices, so the ability to take 5 credits in business might change, might not, but let's prepare, and so that way our students can still earn that CTE endorsement even if they're working towards the seal of civic readiness or have
Right.
interests in other areas, and so that way they can span the gamut and do all the things.
And do
So-
you like review students' records to see if they might qualify for this?
Yeah, so part of the reapproval too that
Yeah,
we're
because
doing.
I feel like I know kids that probably maybe didn't get it in the past, but could have.
It's close because we also had to have a work-based learning requirement.
That's my next
And
question.
sometimes that doesn't
Yeah.
fit in a student's
Right.
schedule. So we're also making an adjustment that it's highly recommended but not required. So that way, if a student doesn't have a job or that one day of cycle of work-based learning opportunity like doesn't fit in their schedule, that it doesn't prevent them from getting the endorsement. So those are some of the recommendations we're making, and that's due in 2 months. So we'll see if it gets approved.
And did you already say what the number of hours is for the work-based learning requirement?
It's different depending on how you're earning it. So if it's a internship, it's 54 for a half credit, 108 for a full credit. If you're doing it as a career co-op type
Yeah.
thing, you get a half credit for 150 hours or a full credit for 300 hours.
A lot of hours. I guess that was
Yeah,
that
so I
was
think
what I
it's
wanted
like
to
it's-
emphasize. People
Yeah.
don't realize that when you talk about those work-based learning hours. It's a big commitment.
Mhm. Now, if you're a student in career co-op who you leave half the day and maybe 3 of those 5 days you're actually going to work, and we have a lot of hardworking students, they get to those hours to at least earn the half credit, if not the full credit, pretty
Right.
quickly. So it's a really good opportunity, but it's also a barrier to that CTE endorsement if you can't access that. So part of our recommendation is to adjust that. Another great piece is our dual credit. We have 9 of our courses available for dual credit between MCC and GCC, and they're all a variety of courses if you look at the list up there. So it really allows our kids to explore careers and at the same time narrow in if they really know what they want to do and start earning that college credit. A big piece about our CTE program and business program in general is opportunity and experience. So providing both of those things through our program is really evident in the things that we do. And then especially our Pathways to Teaching course. It has small enrollment of 8, but they really dig in. They provide a variety of guest speakers both within and outside of the district. I've listed some of them up there. They do college tours, and then they started in February, so that every 3rd Thursday, each of those 8 students has a placement in one of our district buildings. So we have students at Dudley, Northside, JP, Martha Brown, and JA. So every 3rd Thursday of every month, they go and spend the whole day with teachers. So I think that's really awesome.
And they're also going into our UPK programs now too, so.
Yeah. And then our Career Exploration Center, Sandy is constantly posting job opportunities. And I'm trying to get our Instagram growing a little bit. So whenever I post an opportunity on the Career Exploration Instagram, I repost it on the Fairport High School page and try to drive followers. I have to think about ways like if you follow and show your teacher, you can get something. But so we're really trying to get it to grow because not only does she post it outside of the office, but we know our kids are accessing social media and so are their parents. And so their parents can help push some of these opportunities we're putting out there. So sometimes I'll do a mass follow.
I've seen way more than I ever did in the past.
Great.
Lately,
That's
so
neat.
I'm impressed. I wish there was more when Natalie and Evan were here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, he'll be ready.
And I love the Instagram model because everything lives there. So even if something, say, a field trip has gone past the due date, they can go back and look at the contact information and reach out to that person. Or maybe something's posted and that job is still available. They can reach out. And so I just love that it all lives there. So I'm really trying to drive some traffic there. I have something posted on the Fairport High School page now if you want to follow. And then what I really love about our guest speakers, that's something that our department has really tried to grow, is we have 3 alumni specifically that come back and speak to our students. So again, showing them that the opportunity we provide does provide access later. And maybe that future career or job that a student's looking into. You can see someone that was in their shoes now doing that. And obviously people from the industry as well. So those are just some examples of some of our guest speakers and field trips that they go on. And then to family and consumer sciences, we have so many great things. Yes. Please.
I think some of the internships that you connect with folks or students with, they get paid too, right?
Some are paid and some are
Some are.
considered a job shadow.
Okay, which
So
if they're paid, they still count towards that credit, right?
yeah, it would go towards the co-op. They'd have to do the work-based learning and track their hours with Sandy, but yep, they can earn that.
Which is a
They're
great
involved in that.
opportunity too.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So if you want to talk about our middle grades.
Sure. I mean, not really, but okay. Yeah, so at this current time, 6th graders and 8th graders take FACS. I know it used to look different years ago. I think they used to do 10, 10, and 10 in 6th, 7th, and 8th, right? Am I wrong? Something like that. Currently, 6th graders take 20 weeks, so I have them for a semester, and then they go to art, and then 8th graders, I have them just for a short 10 weeks, which is very sad. I get really sad when they disappear. But 6th grade is exploration of FACS, so it's all different life skills. We touch on a million different topics. And 8th grade is more focused on almost kind of channeling them into those business programs at the 9th grade level. So talking about, you know, starting their careers, thinking about first jobs, building resumes, interview skills, because a lot of them are turning 14 and able to get a job. And I know they revisit those skills in the 9th grade business classes too. So it's kind of scaffolding what they're doing at the high school level, which is fun. And we've talked a little bit more about getting the business and FACS departments together to kind of work more on that, which we haven't done in the past. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
And then your Ugly Dolls project.
Oh yeah, that's fun. So we have been working on for the last couple of years building this sewing program with the elementary school. So now every kindergartner in the district gets a doll created by a middle school student with their newfound sewing skills. And it's just a really cool collaboration. It gets our 6th graders to be a little less selfish and think about someone other than themselves. The kindergartners draw these lovely little pictures and send them to us, and we turn them into a doll and we write them notes, and it's very sweet. We really, oh, is it really? Oh, okay, good. Yes. Some 6th graders are all about the photos, and some of them are like trying to hide behind their doll, you know. But they're very sweet. We really would like to see that built into the Brotherhood Sisterhood program, though. That is something that we, I would like to work on. It is hard with the scheduling because there's so many kindergartners and we have to do different schools at different semesters. But I would love in the future to have that be a way to get middle school more involved in Brotherhood Sisterhood, because it's something that's missing, obviously, for the middle level. So I'd really like to brainstorm ways to make that happen at some point in the near future.
We were actually just trying to figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
And just all I had to do was talk to you. Huh?
I'm in. Let me know. I got all the ideas.
When we were meeting for this presentation, she's like, do you think I can mention
Slide it
Brosish
in.
with Ugly Dolls? And I'm like, yes.
Yes, I love it. I love it. It's so fun. Yeah, because I do feel like the middle schoolers are desperate to actually engage with the kindergartners, and they're very upset when I tell them that I'm going up to deliver the dolls and I'll snap a couple of photos and bring them back. They really want to give the dolls to the kids themselves, spend that time, talk to them and get them excited about middle school. Oh, you might do this one day, you know. They really want to be part of that, and they haven't yet been able to, so future plans.
A little field trip for the kindergartners to come visit a big building.
Yeah, I would love that. It would be so cool. I would love to build that into our child development unit as well, and, you know, helping the students to learn how to interact correctly with that age group. And so there's lots of ways to build that into our 6th grade curriculum.
Do the Martha Brown FACS students also do the Ugly Doll project, or is that just a JP?
So JP handles kindergarten at Brooks Hill, and JA and Martha Brown does Dudley. Dudley? Not say? Which one's
Dudley.
Dudley. Yeah, so they do Dudley. Yeah. But we've managed to finally, this year, I think might be the first year that all the kindergartners have received a doll. So
Which ties nicely into our 66 students taking child development this year. It's a semester course, so across the year, 66. Popular is our culinary courses. We have 291 students taking a culinary course, and 264 have taken at least one. So we have basic, advanced, and global. So many of our students do go on to take the next level. And that's just this year. Some students may be taking the next level next year, and so on and so forth. But it's one of our most popular courses, mostly due to our teachers. Like, they are so engaging, and our students, some of our most difficult students, gravitate towards their rooms, and just those teachers' ability, Katie Jessup and Cindy Logan, to connect with our most difficult students is incredible. Yeah. So some of our guest speakers in child development, Lindsay Kyle, one of the assistant principals, came and talked about her experience. And then they had an OBGYN come in. So just like, they are spanning all of the different things you could talk about with child development. And I think that's really great. And then our global and advanced culinary, they're working on a new unit to support basic culinary, which is food allergies, which I feel like has always been around, but is ever more prevalent now, especially with gluten, all those things. So they're developing a new unit all on their own. They are so driven to do this. So they've started that. And then.
With culinary, yes. Oh, child development. So we have, we're looking to do some curriculum planning at the middle school level, hopefully, to work on how we can support the child development program more, how we can kind of filter kids into that program and get them excited about working with young children, which also supports, obviously, the education, getting kids into education career positions later. We'd kind of, during COVID, moved a little bit away from the child development, kind of building those into other units, but we'd actually like to do a little bit more planning to see how we can get kids excited about that elective at the high school, at the younger levels.
Yeah, which I wanted to feature that course when we're talking about facts at the high school as child development, is not only do they do the Real Care baby simulation, I don't know if you've seen anybody walking around with fake babies, but then they do a preschool program.
My kids went to that.
They did?
They did. My daughter went to. In fact, the other facts teacher at the middle level, Jodie Odell, we met for the first time because our two oldest attended.
Oh, good.
I didn't work here, but attended that preschool with Kelly Goodman. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
really
great.
Cool. They were amazing.
So we had 17 this year in January, which is the most we've ever had. And the room's kind of small, but they make it work. They set it up for different lessons around the room, and they do different stations, and they just get to really know the kids. And super exciting is some of our UPK programs in the district. This Thursday, and then I believe the next date is the 29th, they had to split them in half. They're doing a field trip to our UPK program. So again, just tying in our older students with the younger students and bridging those connections. So it's a really great opportunity that I think we'll continue to build on. And then some of our culinary students showing off some of the things that they do, and I'm really, really excited. This is new in the last week or so. We just got recently secured a $250 donation for the Home Depot in Victor that basically said, fill the cart and come pick it up, and it's yours. So Katie Jessup just figured out a cart because we're expanding the high school garden. They started it a little last year. They work in collaboration with Environmental Club to help maintain it over the summer, and the amount of produce that they use in the course, stuff's expensive these days. So we've been able to save some money using that, but I think who can really highlight it is Heather in the JP garden.
So obviously this is my passion. But it's been a really fun way to really engage kids in where their food comes from. It's very hard to teach nutrition and culinary arts without really showing kids, how it's grown. So our garden has expanded. We started it, 5 or 6 years ago, can't remember. And now we're up to 14 or 16 4-foot by 8-foot beds. It's really expanded. The kids build everything. They built the greenhouse. They did all the woodworking for the beds. They haul in all the dirt themselves. We use a big chunk of what we grow in our classrooms in the spring and then especially in the fall, and we process a lot. We process all of our own herbs and spices. We dry them and we use them in our classes. But our big thing is that we have been donating pretty heavily. Last year was major. We donated over $1,000 worth of produce to Evergreen East, and that's based on Wegmans organic food because that's what obviously we produce. There's no pesticides or anything. So we track everything that we take out of the garden and we drop off twice a week during the summer to the shelf at Evergreen East. And Martha Brown last year, we took some donations from there too. So it's really growing. And I've met with a couple of the elementary schools about getting their gardens going. So it really has become quite a movement, which is very exciting for kids, especially health-related nutrition, you know.
And you can see in one of those pictures where they say plant a seed, they're selling at the Fairport Market, if you want to talk about.
Yeah, so, well, we were talking about this a little bit in relation to business entrepreneurship. So we do our days where we take our kids to the market at, in Fairport. We do 2 events, one later in the summer, and we usually do opening day of the market. And we have a booth and we offer a few different things. Our kids do planting activities for little kids that come to the market, show them how to plant a seed, talk to them about, you know, what they're doing in the schools. We also sell some of our seedlings. I have 300 seedlings growing in my classroom right now, so it looks like a jungle. And we put what we can into the 2 middle school gardens, and then the kids have fun sharing the rest with the community and bringing some money back into our program so that we can continue to grow. And then we've also been selling some plant-related artwork, and you know, the kids love to just talk to community members about what they're doing in the schools and where the food is going and how they're supporting their community through these gardens.
So you might have heard throughout this presentation all of the things happening in FACS that really link to our business program. And so we were talking, I was really glad I was asked to do this because it really generated a lot of conversation between us. Because as much as we know what's going on across the full district-wide department, there's so many intricacies like that we've talked about today that don't always get discussed. So we've talked a lot about how in 8th grade FACS, how we can use that as a marketing tool for our CTE program, and being like, make sure you take careers in financial management as a 9th grader, and especially with when we consolidate, they might have more options to take given what's room is available in their schedule. So on my to-do list is to start brainstorming, start the conversation, bring our next FACS department meeting and our business department meeting together to just kind of start brain dumping, because so many good ideas came from our conversations.
That we didn't realize were there until we started really kind of getting into the details,
so those are our next steps. Questions?
The state of FACS and business is strong, and 2 examples of leading from where you are, and I really appreciate, you know, the energy. I appreciate the vision and trying to connect and align the curriculums, because again, this is part of our budget and our budget process. It's very appropriate for tonight, and even though not, you know, as you go through, it becomes more of an elective and a pathway. I'm pleased to see that you're trying to hone them and make them as effective.
Even though they're electives, they're career courses.
Correct.
And isn't that our goal
really
for our kids, right?
So they're so important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great work, both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very persuasive at the market. Oh my goodness.
No, they're wonderful.
It's hilarious. No. I do feel like I have to buy multiple. They're good. I think, we could use some of it. Are we good, Tanya?
We're on to the next.
Okay.
We're heading to curriculum writing, and again, when you look at tonight's budget, thanks, Maddie. Dollars are directly associated to curriculum writing and some of the pieces that we were talking about, aligning to make sure our academic and social, emotional, and behavioral components are doing the best for our children. And Dr. Wilson will be talking a little bit about curriculum.
And Tanya, I really appreciate this presentation, because I know when I first joined the board, there were always questions, and I don't think we had a set in terms of sharing what's going to be happening prior to it happening. So I appreciate all the effort and planning to get this to us.
Absolutely. And this is a draft right now. We're still fighting over the dollars and the hours and making sure that we can get all the projects that we need done this summer or in other ways. So thank you again for having us tonight. And Maddie is doing just an absolutely wonderful job in leading those departments while still being an assistant principal. And so I appreciate her doing all of that work, as you can see. And it's not done without the lead teachers. So again, thank you for making sure those are a priority too. So we have curriculum writing projects for our summer that we are planning, hopefully, to continue our work with MTSS and support all of the things that we are trying to move forward as a district. Not only are they things that are foundational to Fairport and the Fairport vision, but also state mandates, right? And so we've got to make sure we're balancing all of those all the time. We know over the last 2 board meetings, we've heard from a couple members of my team about some changing state requirements and things coming down the pike from like world languages, science and math. There's lots of new requirements coming. And so we need to make sure those projects are in here. But then also there's the things that are the electives, but like Maddie and Heather just said, those are the things that get our kids both bought into school, excited about school, but also ready for whatever they're doing after school. So we have some projects. You'll see, I won't read them all to you, but our goal is always to make sure that we're aligning with our expansive childhood and expansive whole child and student-centered programming and aligning with state standards. So FACS is going to be curriculum writing this summer. We're really excited about that. Heather just alluded to what that project is going to do. You'll see some work in the humanities area at the elementary level. There's 2 different projects there. I'll just highlight the 95% and the wit and wisdom alignment. We have been working since we've adopted this curriculum and we're having great results, but always when you adopt a curriculum, there's growing pains and there's things you learn, and so we need to go back and revise and make sure they fit into our schedules and things like that. Lessons learned, all of those pieces. So that's some of the work we'll be doing this summer. You'll also see, I'm staying in the humanities realm, you'll see grades 6, 7, and 9, where we're working in our ELA curriculum. We really want to make sure that we're giving every student the opportunity for enrichment throughout especially in our middle grades where we don't have those courses, honors English and honors social studies, but opportunities within the curriculum and in those classes to do those extension projects. And so we're really headed towards a direction of both project and enrichment-based opportunities. I'll give you just an example. In 6th grade, there's a performance task. The performance task right now is, how can individuals and communities help preserve our oceans? And right now, the kids do an infographic and an essay. That's great, but we can do better, and we know that lots of kids need more. So we're going to go back, and we're going to keep working on those things, so we're going to continue to grow our opportunities for our students. I'll pull out, thanks to the board and their willingness to support our ongoing professional development. We are almost done training our reading teachers in Orton-Gillingham, which is a method and a way to approach literacy intervention. And so we are going to go back and use what we've learned and help to adjust our intervention programs in 95%. Scrolling a little bit more. We're looking at some collab projects, so I love when that happens, when you have social studies and ELA naturally come together anyways. And then this one is about the Eastern Hemisphere curriculum, so that's really great. You'll see some high school courses, SUPA economics. We've got our AP African American Studies course that's coming on new this year, so we need to do some curriculum writing for that. In the math world, we have all those things that we heard coming, the changes from the state. So we have Algebra 2, geometries. There's some work to do with AP statistics to align with the recommendations from College Board and AP. And then I'll leave us with enrichment. We already offer enrichment in K-5 to students. We have about 110 students that get enrichment in reading and writing. And then we have about 85 students that get it in math K-5. And what we have the kids doing right now is amazing. The kids really enjoy it. So some of the math projects are things like computational thinking and problem solving, logic puzzles, motion Legos, that kind of things. ELA, we're doing a Rock by Rock project, which is a company that we're working with that has real world environmental projects. So it's all tied together, right? Journaling, poetry, things like that. But what we're looking at writing curriculum for this summer is aligning that enrichment opportunity, not just these ones that are run by our Spark teachers, but other enrichment opportunities within the classroom that are tied directly to our ELA curriculum. And so we are excited about that idea. So those are our projects that we have planned so far. Nothing major. Just a few things.
The common assessment piece, I mean.
Oh,
can you-
absolutely. Oh, yeah, I can go into that. I'm sorry, Brett.
No, don't be
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. So how do we know what we're doing is working? It's about assessments, and we're not trying to over-test students, but we need to know that what we're doing matters. And, you know, we do a lot of that work already in elementary with the national tests that we give students, and then we norm them against their peers. That's one way to find out if what we're doing is mattering, but we need to know if it's sticking beyond that and if the Fairport curriculum is working. So we are making sure that we're aligning and writing common assessments that we'll be using to help drive our instruction and differentiation. And differentiation means across the gamut, from our lowest needs students in that unit to our highest needs or highest achieving students in that unit. So that's where we're headed. Yeah. And that's common assessments across all content areas. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Even
and,
PE. Right?
And I feel like, what does it look like now in terms of the common assessment? I know you've told us before, but it's a little different in each area, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on each area. It depends on how new the curriculum is to us. It depends on where we've put our focus. So right now I would say we've spent a lot of time in our elementary grades. And we're, as you can see kind of in those curriculum projects, we're shifting a little bit more to ELA middle and social studies middle and a lot of the high school pieces too. You don't want to wait till that big test at the end to find out. And nobody does. Our teachers know where their students are. It's not that, but we can reach those kids at both ends of the spectrum better if we have those common assessments.
Does this work, taking a shot in the dark?
I'm ready.
Like your school improvement team, when you're doing your standards-based curriculum writing pieces and how it will be flowing into.
Absolutely, 100%. So we have 3 projects that our team is continuing to work on. I just had a great conversation with Kevin Henshin. So one of the projects is on our grading practices, and the group that's going through that grading work together asked to continue for next year. And that's really exciting. They volunteered to be in the groups. They want to continue the work. So Jeremy and I are going to figure out how to make that happen, right, Jeremy? No pressure. So that's one. Another one is our standards work. Obviously, this is all standards driven. Like that's a no-brainer. And then the other group is our homework policy, and that work is going to continue, or homework recommendation policy. So that work is going to continue as well. Homework committee met today. I can't wait to see what they came out with.
There'll be a May presentation too.
Yeah, we're going to give an update on where we are in the progress, and I'm saying in our progression, because it is a 5-year plan that we're on. We're not going to meet our goals this year. We are continuing the work, right? So we will have a nice solid foundation to continue to grow and move and shift, but we're headed in the right direction, and the ship is all headed in the same direction, which I think is really exciting.
How many year
too.
plan did you say?
I said 5.
Yeah.
Hold on tight. We got to get through a consolidation. Oh, can I just pull out one more thing? I want to make sure. We highlighted in here the mentorship program. We are going to be writing or developing, adapting a peer mentorship program that's part of the consolidation plan too, making sure that we've got all those 9s and 10s ready to go in a year, 26, 27.
And they talked about this in the consolidation meeting that Erica, Mary Caitlin, and I went to, but they looked at programs that you could buy that were like ready-made peer mentoring, and just looking at the balance of the cost and being able to personalize it to Fairport, decided to make their own, which I think is great. So I was excited to see it pop up on there.
Yeah, we're going to probably be pulling and borrowing and then molding to make it a very Fairport peer mentoring program. So we're very excited about the opportunities. One of the concerns that was raised at that meeting was oftentimes we tap the same kids for the same things, and those 85 high-flying kids that want to do everything, including get CTE endorsements, might not have time. But a really good peer mentoring program finds those kids that are like the ones that you might miss, because they can mentor kids that might get missed. And so we're really excited about all those opportunities for leadership for our students.
Yeah, I talked to some of the teachers after that, and we were discussing that, like, you know, that some of the students that you might not see as the typical sign up to be a mentor might be who some of our incoming students really need to connect with, people who are similar to them and have similar interests and aren't just the same.
Find your people.
Kids.
Yeah.
I also really appreciated the focus on the middle school enrichment, or like the differentiation in the classroom. I know that's a really big lift, especially now that we don't have the honors ELA track. So thanks for your work on that.
Yeah.
I was also
absolutely.
curious with the standards-based part. I know I went to one of the, what's the name of it? The Teach Fest? Is that what the name of it? One of those workshops that was really great where one of the teachers was talking about how she did standards-based assessment and could target it that way. And one of the concerns that came up was from some of the classes that don't necessarily have a bank of questions to choose from provided by AP or whoever.
Right.
So is that worked into any of this curriculum writing where they'll have opportunities to figure out how to do that or to develop those materials?
Yeah,
if they want to?
I could share through Brett one of our curriculum templates that has those things listed in there. And so when we do curriculum writing, we're using it's called the UBD template. And in that, you have your overarching goal, you have your standards, and then you have all these pieces and questions that you answer. Like, what is the ultimate goal you want kids to get to, and how are you going to know they got there? And then there's the daily lesson plans that go through there. But in that are those kinds of questions that you're talking about that people develop together. So somebody like Heather, who is standing here, who doesn't have a bank of questions from the state to pull from, she would develop that in her FACS team together. Yeah. So that absolutely.
Awesome.
That's where that common assessment piece comes into play. Right? And I think, I don't know if you ever arrive and you don't want to be too rote as well. So
Correct. It's
there's
a
fine line.
balance,
So
right?
as somebody who's excited about that, they would be like, no, you know.
Well, it's a lot of work. You know, the teacher who did this for, I think it was for chemistry,
Yeah.
you know, the students could retest if they, you know, and only have to retake the parts of the test that represented the concepts they didn't know, but they need to have all those
bank.
questions. Or
Yeah.
same
Right.
with differentiation. Like
Yep.
it's one thing to say differentiation, but then for a teacher in the classroom, it's like, great, so now I'm coming up with how many lesson plans to be able to support all the students. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that they are, you know, we're paying our own people and giving them the time to do that
Absolutely.
in the summer if they'd like
Absolutely.
to.
And you know, you want an 80 in my social studies class to be about the same thing as an 80 in Superintendent Provenzano's social studies class. I'm probably an easier grader. I did not.
So if a
Were you
team,
math? I was
She was
going to say, I think
math.
she was math.
if a curriculum writing team, you know, say for sixth grade ELA, sixth grade social studies, if they write this curriculum, how is that then presented to the rest of the team and adopted so that it's consistent but not constantly making them learn new things or do things they don't want to do?
That's a really great question. So everybody's invited to be part of curriculum writing projects. So the people that decide to write are people that are passionate and have the time over the summer to do that. And then we house all of our curriculum. Right now we have it on our district website, or a district run website that the teachers can all access. So it's shared broadly. And then part of onboarding and part of our PD days and common planning time and grade level meetings, department meetings, that's unpacking that stuff together. And so the teachers spend time together going through the new units. They also spend time together going over just taught things and talking about what worked and didn't work, so you can have reflections and notes and make adjustments moving forward.
That's
So
why
more on the side of resources than additional requirements for the rest of the staff, like we're developing curriculum.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it depends on the curriculum if it's new ELA or new New York State standards versus other things. But you're providing resources, but it's not required that every teacher use them. Or
Well, that's why the assessment is the most important in my mind when you're creating like these common benchmark assessments, because it is, you want to be common. That's the purpose of what MTS is, but also at the same time you want to have
The
teachers
nuance.
the ability to use their artistic expression, right? And so
Yep.
that's where the quality control, you hear me say, is that benchmark
right.
that is given periodically throughout the year. And there are some definitely, I mean, you could probably speak, you know, with wit and wisdom or the other pieces.
Yeah, so like we just adopted a box curriculum, Wit and Wisdom, right? And so one of the fears in adopting a curriculum that is created by a company is that you lose that art of teaching piece of it. And really what it ends up becoming is a toolbox to help you with your art of teaching. So no longer are you having to find slide decks and videos and worksheets and create those all yourself. They're there. Now you can focus on the things that you need to focus on instead of creating. I can't imagine doing the job, especially, and I'm not knocking anybody, but think about an elementary teacher's whole role: English, science, social studies, math, social emotional, anything else, like pick a thing. Yeah, all the things. And we don't hand them the tools that they need in order to do that. But we also aren't walking around saying, oh, you're supposed to be on lesson 7, it's day 2 on this unit. It's not that at all. But it is really beautiful when you walk through the halls and you've done your board visits and you see the common projects and you also see the takes on those common projects. I would say that's probably the best picture of the art of teaching. If you're trying to think of, like, you can use a box curriculum, wit and wisdom, but this project on the buffaloes looks different in every single teacher's class. It all is created in a little bit different of a way, and the kids are all getting the same content, and we know they have the same content.
I think the power lies in the conversations that the teachers have. And when you see them on conference days talking about whether it's wisdom, whether it's the social studies standards or the new science curriculum, the powerful conversations that they have around the commonality, I think it just improves everybody's teaching so we can continue to maximize learning. And again, going back to the common assessments.
I know, that's what I keep going
Those
back
become the
to.
non-negotiables. And, that becomes what.
You would hope that you would see if you're struggling,
You
like
can.
your entire class is struggling with concept, then
Yep.
you would know where you can find
Yeah.
those resources to maybe do some teaching or differentiation.
Really proud of the intentionality of the past several years. Proud of how we're trying to align the curriculum, align the conversations, but still work within the framework of the art and science of teaching.
Yep.
And giving our educators the ability to do that.
All right, thanks everybody.
So my hope for this conversation is not for you to become like experts on all this, but hopefully you're seeing common themes and common things that we've been talking about for the past several years that we might be in year 2 of X, Y, or Z. Or I know we heard so much about what was happening at the consolidation meeting about a peer mentoring program, and wow, it's here. And I think that's what I'm hoping that the board sees, that we're trying to fulfill our promises of the guaranteed and viable curriculum, the social emotional supports that we committed to in programming. So
Yeah, this is great to see at the end of the year, because I feel like as I read through it, I'm like, oh, I remember talking about this back in October, or I mean, I don't actually remember the month, but throughout the year, and then to see it like we're following through and we're following up with that later.
Sneak peek, organizational focus areas. I'm going to go back to this list, and I'm going to work with Dr. T on this and sort of say, hey, let's build some recommendations so our leaders can come and speak to some of the work that they're doing. So
Great, appreciate that.
The math one is the most intriguing to me because of all the changes. So yeah, it is wild.
Hey, that science isn't light there.
No, it's not. I feel like they've done more, but yeah. So thank you.
thank you.
Okay. So I need a motion. We're gonna, well, just if you're listening online before I go into executive session, we are going to adjourn right now, well, just exit, go into executive section, reconvene, and then adjourn, and then we'll be back here live and in action at 7 o'clock tonight. So you are not missing anything right away, but we will be back with our business meeting at 7 o'clock. So I need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to the employment history and recommendations related for tenure of individuals in collective bargaining units. Invited to attend are the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Doug Loff, and Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Brett Provenzano.
You've been demoted.
That's okay.
Brian, me? All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Perfect.